So taxpayers should never again have to foot the bill for bad decisions made by the banks. That's the message from the City Minister, Lord Myners, who hosted a meeting of officials from the world's richest economies in London today.
What we've done is we've taken significant steps to strengthen the world's banking system, particularly actually here in the UK, where we have some of the most strongly capitalised banks in the world. So that's reduced the risk of banks experiencing losses which they cannot cope with, and also ensuring that they've got the capital to support the needs of the economy. But we can never tolerate a situation again where a global banking crisis leads to such large calls on the taxpayer. So we have to find solutions where the banking system, the banks and their shareholders absorb the costs of failure. And that was the focus of our meeting in Downing Street this morning.
Well, we've also been hearing how the 100 most senior UK employees at Goldman Sachs will have their pay and bonuses capped at £1 million when the Wall Street Bank reveals its 2009 pay packages. It's understood that only London staff will be affected. It's also been reported that Barclays is planning to put off paying bonuses to its senior staff to try and quash public anger over bankers' pay. So is it a sign that banks may be starting to show some restraint? Well, Chris Roebuck is a visiting professor from Cass Business School. He's also held senior HR roles in a number of international banks. Thanks for joining us, Chris. On that issue of what we've seen from Goldman Sachs, do you think there is an element of restraint now?
There is certainly a change in behaviour starting to come through. What's happened is the message has actually got through to the bankers at last that their pay is so completely out of line with the pay of everybody else that people are genuinely annoyed. And what they've realised is that that pressure is building up political pressure, which is having an effect on how they might be doing business in the future.
And of course that political pressure, we heard of this meeting today that Lord Myners, the City Minister, hosted. He talked there about the need to get the banks themselves to absorb any future costs of failure. But, you know, it's easy to say that. How do you get a global agreement on that?
Getting a global agreement on this is just as difficult as getting a global agreement on anything else, because you have 20 countries, or in the case of the Basel Banking Supervision Group, 27 different countries in the room, all of whom you are trying to get to agree. Inevitably, that's a major problem. But I think President Obama's move last week has pointed in the right direction, and that, combined with the proposals from that particular Basel group in December, start giving us a way through to seeing light at the end of the tunnel.
And we understand that they were certainly focusing their discussions on that very topic today. What do you think, though, are the key other issues going forward?
The issue really around the whole thing is that there's a lot of hot air being talked by politicians to a degree, and not recognising that actually there are four key problems here. One, we don't want a repeat of the crisis that feeds into the public banking system. Two, we don't want the banks who are dealing to have too much risk so they fail. Three, we don't want that failure to impact upon the accounts that the general public hold. And four, we really need to look at bonuses and the charges that the banks levy for their services to make sure there is a fair return for the effort put in.
Chris Roebuck, thanks very much indeed for talking to us today.